Good morning and welcome to Mocha Money Monday. I'm Ashley Scott, your host, and this has been brought to you by the Phenomenal Hughes community. And I am so excited to introduce my guest for today, Mr. Michael Cortez. This data analyst is more than that. He's an inspirational human being. He's intelligent and he has written and authored several publications. I'm going to let him talk more about who he is and how he can help you heal through writing. Hey, Mike.
Hey everybody, how y'all doing?
Everybody's doing good today. It's a wonderful day, even though it might be raining. We are going to light up the world today. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about your background and how you got to be an author.
Yeah, so that is a long story, but for the sake of time, I'll make it a little bit more succinct. So
Okay.
I started writing intuitively around like 11, 12 years old. Not saying that I learned how to write at 11, 12 years old. My mother made sure that my brothers and I learned earlier than that. But what I mean by intuitively is that writing was my means of self-therapy. So my father, he's been imprisoned ever since I was about 10, 10, 9, 10 years old. To this day, he still is, and I'm 26 years old. 15 years to life. That's just what happened. So with all those feelings and all those inner qualms that I was dealing with, this had conflicted me. And automatically I was sent towards the pen and the pad, and it saved me from going to prison like my dad. So 12 years old, I just started writing anything that came to mind, anything that came to heart, whatever it was, I had to express myself and get it off. So I began with poetry. Poetry for me was a great medium for the abstract feelings that I was feeling and to express them through short poetic stories or just expressions of my heart and my soul or things that I thought about or even philosophies that I had. All of it just started spilling out, and I had buckets on top of buckets of just information, of feelings, of thoughts that needed to get out. I would literally spend my recess in middle school, in high school, sometimes just writing. Even though I had class, like I'd just be sitting down writing, because that's what was helping heal me, and I didn't even know it at the time. I just knew that this is what I really liked. So from uh from that point, 12 going into 14 years old, I had joined a nonprofit organization out in the Bay Area. And just for context, I'm from Vallejo, California. I know I missed that part. So I joined this nonprofit out in the Bay Area, Oakland specifically. And the nonprofit was geared towards children of incarcerated parents. And it was named Project What We Are Here and Talking, 2.7 million of us, which refers to the number of children of incarcerated parents in the US as of going back in that time, 2012. And that number more than likely has gone up now because it just does.
Of
So
course.
in that program, I had to connect with other youth such as myself who had parents in prison or jail currently or in the past, and we had to write our stories and refine those stories and share those stories with each other. But not only did we share those stories with each other, we were assigned to go out into the field, which was college classrooms, universities, sheriff's departments, sometimes police departments, um, judges. We would speak to judges, attorneys, and we would speak to inmates in prisons and county jails. So
Okay.
the, these would be all the people who would be involved in the process of when a child's parent is taken away from them. College students, you may think like, how? But they are the future legislators. They are the future senators, Congress people, sometimes even police officers, lawyers, and judges. So that's why we went to the colleges. But my, my favorite audience to speak to was the inmates. because I could relate more to them than the college students. And that's just because the college students didn't speak up on their experience. They're listening to us. So I would go in so candidly and tell my story about how it was from living with my father and then him being in prison and then growing up with the single mother and how that had affected my life and our household. And I would see mean mugs, cold stares turn into human faces with it full of expression, replete with tears that cascade down their stale faces and bring life to them. Because for a long time, they were suppressing how they felt. Because I mean, they're imprisoned, they're in jail. Showing weakness was something that, or showing emotion was something that was considered weak to them for so long, and that was way before the prison or the jail. So as within is without, right? I'm not
Yep,
saying
absolutely.
I'm not saying that
I,
because they didn't express themselves that they were in prison, but they were living in a prison before they even got to prison.
right. So, Mike, I want to move us along to the development of story medicines because it
Hmm.
sounds like this is how you really was able to take something that was profoundly impactful, that experience in that volunteer experience and working with these youth and going into the prison systems. You turned that passion and that experience into a business that now helps other people to use writing to heal. And your books, I believe, touch on that power, right? So let's talk a little bit about story medicine.
Yeah, and I was actually gonna segue into that through this story. So
Okay.
so going from there and speaking to the prisoners, I didn't realize that I was evolving myself and healing myself and even helping heal others with their with my story and inspiring them to write their stories. Because afterwards, some of the men would say, I'm gonna write my book now," and some of them did that. So from there, I had went to community college. Well, first graduated high school, then went to community college, and then transferred over to Morehouse in 2018. Um, and 2020 comes around, and I wrote my first book. It was a collection of poems that I've written over the years, and its name is As Bold as My Heart, As Strong as My Spine. And you can find that on my website at storymedicineспlural.com. So I had collected the poems and just comprised them into a book because I told myself, hey man, I've been writing for this long. um, why don't I have something out there? Let me just make something. So that's what I decided to do. I went for the low hanging fruit, so to say, because I already had written all these poems. It was just about putting them into a book. So I did that, and some of the poems were actually songs. So I had put QR codes that led to the music within the book, and I was selling books. I believe I sold about like 30 something within my first week. And I said, wow, this is great. I wasn't even really looking at it for the money component, but hey, that's what I did. Um, and all of it I had to learn by myself. I didn't have nobody come to me and say, hey, here's how you go from idea to self-publishing. It was just all self-interest. And I believe that curiosity is one of our superpowers. So my curiosity fueled me up to become a self-published author that is now helping others self-publish. So a year later from 2020, I had formed my LLC, Story Medicines, and I had the intention to use my stories to help heal others. But I had pivoted a little bit after graduation, let's say about 2022. I said, well, I think that it would be more impactful if I help others write their stories to heal rather than me just present mine's. Because my stories may not resonate with everybody. They could be fun, exciting, whatever it may be. But if somebody creates something from themselves, they're going to be more than likely to find, I would say, or I would think, more value within it than somebody else's. So I said, all right. let me become a writing coach. I can light more candles in the world with my fire rather than just trying to be the light of the world itself. And I believe that's the way it should be. I am if we are. So that's what I went for. And I currently have my writing community where I have about 10 members, four who are active in writing their stories. And this year, I have a goal to help 20 people, regardless of age, if they're going to pay me or not, finish their books, because that's just what I want to do. So that is how I had went from writer to writing coach, now helping people go from idea to self-publishing for the free way or the ghost writing way or the writing with you way.
Wow, that is powerful. So I'd like to know a little bit more about some of the things that people can expect when you're self-publishing. You're self-taught around self-publishing, and
Hmm.
so you've already got a learning curve, which makes you an awesome coach. So what I'd like to know is just what are some of the first things that people should prepare to do. I love the fact that you talked about you already had some homes, so those were like low hanging fruit. And I just want to think like, well, what do you feel are some ways that people should get prepared when they're thinking about the self-publishing aspect, especially if they've already begun to write something, and they're in those final phases of maybe finishing stuff up? What should somebody be thinking about?
They should think about how they're gonna copyright. Let's say you have an LLC. If you want
Mm-hmm.
to copyright your book underneath your LLC, that's fine too. But I don't really think that approach is the safest unless it's like in a trust. Um,
Okay.
the reason being is because if your LLC is, I mean, if your copyright is underneath your LLC, and God forbid this, but somebody wants to sue your company, they can go for that, and that's
Ah,
yeah, we don't want that. Like, we're talking about
that's
your hard work. We're talking about your creativity. Now, let's say somebody wants to rewrite your story. Now that actually impacts your life, whether you see it or not, because you
right.
you, you went out there and you spelled that all out. Simple as that. Let's say you wrote a story of redemption, but a company likes your story. They take your copyright and they're like, nah, we want to write it this way. Now that actually starts to influence your life, and you'll see that manifest in real time. So what I decided to do was just put it under myself, because I'm not gonna get sued. That's not gonna happen. So I have the copyrights under my name. And then as for the ISBN and the number and the barcode, that's underneath my company. So I have it like that. I got that ownership, company got the ISBN, boom, we come together and it's all good. So as far as the copyright process, you could go to copyright.gov, and it's only about I want to say 65 to $100 to copyright something, and you could copyright creative works from, let's say you made a curriculum. You could copyright that curriculum. You could copyright your book. If you have an audio work like a song or something, or you created an audio book, or for your book, or a podcast, you could copyright that audio too. So you'll be impenetrable on that side. Now, when it comes to trademarking, um, a lot of people think that when you just copyright your book with the title included, that it's all safe. It's not. You actually have to trademark that book title, and with that subtitle, if you have a subtitle, and that way you'll protect your book from being used on paraphernalia such as hoodies, sweatshirts, cups, just merchandise in that class 25 trademark, so nobody else could come swoop up and take it all. Like, for example, George R. Martin, the creator of the book A Song of Fire and Ice, which had became the show Game of Thrones, if he didn't own the trademark to A Song of Fire and Ice in Game of Thrones, but it got really big on HBO, somebody could have just came and swooped that up, trademarked it, and said, I want X amount of dollars if you want your trademark back. while I continue to sell this Game of Thrones merch. And they would have been making money on top of money. So protection is very important when it comes to this process.
You just gave so many nuggets there, Mike, and I love that you are talking about how affordable it is to protect your work, because a lot of times things like intellectual property, trademarking, and patenting, because so many people think that they have to have a lawyer, it will feel out of reach. But many of these things in our United States Patent and Trademarks Office, as well as I think our U.S. Copyrights offices, they offer so many resources for you to self-educate yourself. Is that not true?
No, that's very true. They got tutorials for you all over the place. Like, of course, most lawyers don't want to tell you that you could just go online and do it yourself because that takes money out of their pocket. But
Right.
all you got to do is just go on these websites, like you said, the USPTO, watch the tutorial videos of how to trademark this, what class might you need. Same thing with the US Copyright Office, and for your barcodes and ISBN numbers, that's Bowker, spelled BOWKER.com. So you go on Bowker, and then you can even watch tutorial videos on how to get your ISBN number and barcode number. And the reason why those are important is because, let's say Barnes and Noble or a big book retailer wants to pick up your book. If you already have that 13-digit ISBN and that barcode on the back of your book, it's going to be a pretty seamless process rather than them telling you, hey, you need to go get these things and reprint. Now you take care of it already, so that way you ain't got to get ready.
Yeah. So you've given so many nuggets, and I love the fact that we've kind of straddled both sides of how important writing is, because when it comes to the healing aspect and the asset aspect, because your writing, it truly is an asset. This is true intellectual property, creative property that turns into cash that can make you bankable no matter who you are, because everybody has a story to tell, and that story is healing and can be profitable. And I think there's something to be said about that, because so few people feel as if their story and their creative thoughts, their poetry, their scripts, like as if they are not good enough. And I think even the fact that you produced it shows that you are. So many people procrastinate, so many people don't go the next step. And so I just want to commend you for sharing your story, writing it down, turning it into something that wasn't just something for your own personal healing, but sharing it in the world and creating real life value in a way that people, are buying your books, and that in a way that you'll help others to be able to build businesses around their books or around their stories and around their creative work. So I just want to say thank you for being here with us today. And how can people get in touch with you, Michael?
I appreciate that. And yeah, everybody can get in touch with me through my website, which is storymedicines.com. And on the Instagram, you could go story_medicines. So, and one last thing I want to give to the audience is when you are, let's say you got an ebook, an audio book, and a print book, they will each need separate ISBN numbers. That's
Okay.
just how the game works. Don't hurt the messenger.
Another nugget.
So make sure you got separate ISBN numbers for each one of those, and also copyrights. So, but you could come talk to me, join the free community, and I get you from idea to self-publishing in whichever way you want to go.
That's awesome. And please remember to touch bases with yourself, write your story down, and
Mhm.
share what it is that you have on the inside of you with the world. It's going to be doubly beneficial. Thank you again, Mike, for being here. This is another episode of Mocha Money Monday, brought to you by Wellston's Financial. and our Phenomenal Hughes community. If you would like to connect with our coaches, wonderful folks like Mike and other guests who have been on the Mocha Money Monday podcast, visit the phenomenalhughes.com community right now. Have a great day. God bless. Peace.
Great day. Great day.